Excuse me, but my card doesn't seem to be working. We urge you to sell your outstanding balance promptly. Otherwise, your card will remain unusable. What? The call center operator from the card company had indeed mentioned outstanding balance. It seems that the payment from my usual credit card hasn't gone through yet. Why though? I should have a substantial amount saved in the account linked for automatic payments. But upon checking my bank account, the balance read $0. The only other person who could have withdrawn money from it would be my husband. So I reached for my mobile phone and immediately reported it to the police. My name is Garnet Felton, and I'm 30 years old. I work at my own pace as a freelance web designer. Since my job allows me to work from home, I often visit clients directly for meeting. While most of the meetings could technically be held online, I prefer talking to clients in person to relay my ideas. When a deadline approaches, I work long hours and often forgo sleep. The reason I can keep up with this job is due to my husband's support. I got married to Thomas a year ago. A few years back, when I was assigned to a project at a company, he was the representative I spoke with. We were in a relationship for a year and a half before we got married. After our marriage, he moved into my apartment. Despite all this, there's one major problem in my life which concerns Thomas's parents. They are a bit casual with their spending and always seem to be short on money. Thomas and I split all our living expenses. Since I earn more, I usually pay all the expenses for the month. And then he reimburses me half at the beginning of the next month. However, when I informed Thomas about this month's expenses as usual, he grimaced and said,
Listen, money's a bit tight this month. Can I pay my share of the living expenses after my next paycheck?
What? What do you mean by tight? I'm only asking for half of the living expenses.
Yeah, I know, but I'm totally out of cash until the next payday.
What do you mean? It's only been 10 days since payday.
Well, I have some stuff to take care of for my parents.
For your parents? His evasive attitude and refusal to explain clearly began to frustrate me. His intentional vagueness made me probe further. Hey, can you explain properly why can't you pay? And what's this about taking care of your parents?
Well, that is...
Is there something you're guilty about?
No, not at all. I just helped out my mom and dad.
Helped out?
Yes, they said they were struggling, so I just sent them some money.
Thomas's parents are supposed to be working. My father-in-law had a full-time job, and my mother-in-law works part-time, so why did he need to send them money? I couldn't quite wrap my head around this and asked the question that had been gnawing at me. Why do your parents need financial aid even though they're working? There was never any need for this before?
I have been sending them money all along. They just asked me to increase the amount starting this month.
You didn't actually agree to increase the amount, did you?
Yes, I did. What's the issue? If my parents are in trouble, it's natural to help them out.
Fine. Just make sure to pay when you get your paycheck at the end of the month, okay? My husband can be quite stubborn once he's set his mind to something. I love him, but his obstinate side does cause some issues. I didn't think saying more would change his mind, nor would he genuinely apologize. I decided to hold off on pressing further and wait patiently until the next payday. Ever since that incident, he began finding excuses not to contribute to our household expenses. Even if he did contribute, it was only about a third of the amount. It's been almost 6 months since he started refusing to pay. While we're still technically married, my patient is wearing thin. Even though I'm bearing all the expenses, all the household chores are also up to me. Thinking about it made me feel foolish and overwhelmed with emptiness. One late night, he came home. His face was flushed, clearly tipsy. I couldn't help but raise my voice. Hey, if you are going to be out drinking, why didn't you call? I made dinner and waited for you.
Oh, sorry. A colleague invited me out unexpectedly.
But you could at least send a message, right? I've told you before to let me know.
Ah, don't yell as soon as I get home. Feels unwelcome.
What's that supposed to mean? Why am I the one getting blamed? He looked at me with disdain as if I was the bad guy. I was infuriated by his attitude and confronted him. Why can you afford to go out drinking when you can't even pay our bills?
I can have a drink once in a while. I'm tired from working every day.
So am I. I do all the household chores. If you can't contribute anymore, can we stop sending money to your parents?
What? Why? This is my family's matter. It's none of your business.
What about us, Thomas? Aren't we family too? What am I to you living here with you after we got married?
Oh, so annoying. What does it matter? You make more money than I do anyway.
Why is he acting so superior? The only reason Thomas can live comfortably is because I am covering all the bills. Wouldn't a simple thank you or sorry for the inconvenience be appropriate? I was at a loss for words, facing his unreasonable arguments. I couldn't comprehend how he could be so arrogant. Given our heated tempers, I figured a calm discussion wasn't possible and said, "Let's talk again tomorrow." The next day, as I prepared dinner, waiting for him, I heard the front door open. "Welcome home," I called from the kitchen, but there was no reply. Then the living room door opened and in walked my husband with his parents. Mom? Dad? Why are you here?" With a smug grin, my husband said,
My parents have something they want to discuss with you.
"Discuss with me?"
Come on, Mom and Dad, get straight to the point, haha.
Encouraged by my husband, my father-in-law began looking apologetic.
Sorry for the sudden visit. We came to discuss the money Thomas has been sending us.
What's this about?
Garnet, can you please stop tormenting Thomas?
Taken aback, I blurted out, "What?" I was utterly bewildered. Then my mother-in-law, who had been quiet, spoke up. "Garnet, Thomas has been sending us money every month thinking of our well-being. It's unfair for you to blame him." "What are you talking about? Harassment? Blame? All I want is for our living expenses to be paid properly." "Listen, Garnet, I hate to say this, but we're like in-laws to you, right? If your family's struggling, wouldn't you want to help?" "What?" "That's what anyone would think, right? Your father-in-law and we have been tight on money recently, so we expect Thomas to continue sending us money. That means you should cover the living expenses for both of you." They seemed to think it was only natural for me to cover all the costs. Not able to stand it anymore, I told them off. Enough is enough. What do you think I am, doing all the housework and covering all the living expenses? How is that fair? "It's what married couples do, isn't it?" "What?" "Married couples support each other, right? Or are you just that greedy?" Hearing his mother's provocation, my husband next to me couldn't help but laugh. That night, no matter what I said, they didn't listen. They only left after 9 p.m. After they left, my husband suddenly handed me a signed divorce paper. In disbelief, I asked, "What is this?"
It means exactly what it looks like.
Looking down at me, he said,
If you keep defying me, I'll divorce you.
"Are you serious?"
Of course. If you don't want to divorce, just do as you're told. Your role is to follow, not lead.
I should have stood up for myself, but I was too drained. Maybe it's pointless talking to Thomas. Before the burden grows, maybe I should consider divorce too. Making up my mind was quick. The next day, I signed the divorce papers Thomas gave me and headed to the city hall. The papers were accepted, and just like that, I was single again. Now I'm free. I'll move out and start living on my own soon. Feeling refreshed, I decided to go shopping at the department store. Since I usually work from home and only go out for meetings, it's been a while since I shopped for myself. Especially recently, since I had to cover all the expenses, I hadn't been able to buy anything for myself. Today, I am going to treat myself. With that thought, I headed to the women's clothing section. I tried on a few dresses and decided to buy 2. At the checkout, when I handed over my credit card, the cashier gave me a troubled look. I'm sorry, ma'am. It seems we can't use this card." What? That can be." We've tried a few times, but it just won't process. That's impossible. The last time I used the card was to buy a new tablet for work. I had no problems with online payment then, so why now? Rushing home, I decided to call the card company. After explaining the situation to the operator, she gave me shocking news. We need you to pay the outstanding amount immediately or your card will be unusable. What? Outstanding amount? Yes, as of last month, we couldn't deduct the card's usage from your account. That's impossible. Please check your bank account balance. After hanging up the phone, I checked my bank account online to see the balance, which my card draws funds from. I've been using this account for savings since I was single, but now it's solely for my card's transaction. If I remember correctly, there should be $5 million in there, but my balance showed zero. Just before the card's due date, all $5 million was withdrawn. What's going on? Why? A chilling suspicion crossed my mind. Could it have been Thomas? But who else could it be? Our bank book and ATM card are kept together, accessible only to the both of us. Meaning Thomas was the only other person who could withdraw from my account? I waited for him to come home, then confronted him. Hey, did you take money from my account? He smirked, exhaled loudly, and responded, seeming quite annoyed.
Oh, you found out? Thought I did a pretty good job hiding it, huh?
I can't believe it. Why would you do that?
Why? For my parents, obviously. I gave them your $5 million.
What did you just say?
Like I said, they asked for financial support. Lucky for them, I have a financial source.
Financial source? Lost for words, he started explaining with a proud tone. It seemed his parents had been obsessed with shopping online recently. They kept buying stuff that they liked. Their spending was way beyond their income. Up until now, they had been asking Thomas for financial support, but now they were at a point where they couldn't manage anymore. Things escalated when they realized they could demand more. They started buying multiple of the same items and gave them away to neighbors. Before they knew it, their monthly payment was over $500,000, and Thomas couldn't cover it anymore, so he withdrew the $5 million from my account. Once he was done explaining, he said,
You shouldn't have any complaints, right? They're also your family. Think of it as taking care of them. Stop fussing about a mere $5 million.
In that moment, I found myself dialing the police on my cell. Hello? Police? I want to report a break-in and theft. My address is... Thomas watched me with wide eyes. As I ended the call, he shouted,
Hey, who did you just call?
Didn't you hear? The police.
Police? Why would you call them? And break-in and theft?
That's you, right?
What? Calling it theft is way over the top. And break-in? This is my house.
I sternly told the flustered Thomas, We are not a couple anymore. Actually, I'm the one renting this place, so technically it's not your home, is it?
We're not a couple?
Remember the divorce papers you so kindly filled out yesterday? I already submitted them. So in other words, this is my place and you are just a stranger here, an intruder, right?
You've got to be kidding me. Call them back and cancel the report.
Waving my phone at him angrily, I threatened, If you lay a finger on me, I'll call the cops again. Just so you know, they're already on their way. You can't run now. Why don't you just admit what you have done?
Whoa, wait. We loved each other, didn't we? Why is this happening?
Loved each other? I scoffed. Don't give me that crap. Whose fault do you think all of this is? It all started because you blindly supported your reckless parents. You can't just do as you please and expect to be forgiven. Who would forgive someone as awful as you? What a fool.
Fool? Who do you think you're talking to?
To you. Like parents, like child, because you were raised by parents who were careless with money. You think it's okay to empty someone else's savings? I hope the police give you a good lecture and you will feel the weight of that $5 million. Just then, the police arrived and Thomas crumbled on the spot. Who's the person in question? Pointing at my husband now cowering on the floor, I said, It's him.
All right, get up. We'll need to take you in for questioning. All I wanted was to care for my parents.
But his pleas went unanswered, and Thomas was taken away by the police. However, the incident was deemed a civil matter and the police informed me that they couldn't intervene. So I visited a law firm and demanded compensation for the misuse savings of $5 million plus damages, totaling $6 million. Of course, Thomas and his parents didn't have that kind of money. In the end, all three ended up in debt. Despite their financial struggles, his parents continued their impulsive shopping sprees, leading to an ever-growing debt. They even turned to loan sharks. Rumors has it they now live in fear of daily debt collection, trying to stay hidden. On the other hand, I decided to completely cut ties with Thomas and moved to a new apartment. Thankfully, my work started flourishing and I now earn more than I could have ever imagined. After breaking up with Thomas, everything in my professional life fell into place. I wished I had divorced him earlier. Even though my marriage was a failure, I knew my life was far from over. Learning from this mistake, I am determined to be more cautious in the future.